go.
Hi, I just wanted to show everybody how to make some bows today, some gift bows. I saw how to make them on YouTube and I thought they were really cool, but they definitely needed to be jazzed up a little bit, and they were recycled in the first place, the one that I saw on YouTube, and they were made out of sheets of magazines. And this is also recycled. I'm a big recycling fan. This is just a piece of old, I think it's wax paper that I found, and I did some embossing on it, and that's what I'm going to show you today, some of the embossing. I'm using some gift wrapping that I already had, so did a recycling thing, and I made one out of this gift wrap before, and if you can see, it's got some really cool embossed flowers on there, and it's with the same kind of, it's with the same color, so it's kind of hard to see, but it's really awesome up close. But I'm going to use some contrasting ink today so that you can really see it well. So I'm going to use some, let's see, I think this is like purple embossing powder. And it's really kind of neat because then you can like personalize your ribbons and even your wrapping paper, but I was just going to show you how to do some really cool ribbons right now. Like you can use little book stamps for, like, you know, gifts for the kids' teachers, or I'm actually going to use this Merry and Bright for the Christmas because I'm making my Christmas bows right now, trying to think ahead, and this one, it's like little gifts. So basically all you do is you ink up your stamp with your pigment ink, of course, and just put it on there. Randomly is the best. So I'm going to do a few of these, and then I'll do a few of the Merry and Bright. I'm basically just doing enough right now for one bow so I can show you how I put it together. So right now we're just preparing our, this is wrapping paper for our embossing. I'm going to use the Merry and Bright and kind of make it a little festive. I'm going to do it long ways because when I cut the strips, they're going to be in lengths long ways, so then you can actually see the whole Merry and Bright, hopefully. Or at least more of the words than if you cut it in the other direction, or if you stamped it in the other direction like this, you would only see like cuts of it. So and I'm re-inking my stamp like pretty liberally every time I stamp, just because I want to be able to make sure that I get some good stamps so I can really cover it well with embossing powder. I love to have a nice thick emboss when I'm done. Now I'm kind of just filling in, so I make sure I kind of have a little bit of something everywhere. And I'm using this stamp because it's the smaller stamp, so it's a little easier to fill in. Alright, I think I'm just going to leave it. I tend to overdo things, so I'll just leave that for right now. I think we're going to be good with this. Put my stamp away. And now I'm going to put on the embossing powder. I do it just pretty liberally. I do it all on the edges first, so then you can kind of just keep it all on without like getting it everywhere, which I usually tend to do if I'm not careful. So do the edges. Okay. So now I got the edges, and I'm just going to move it around the paper. It's like my favorite part. Making sure that I get all the areas really nice and thick with the embossing powder. And then I'm just going to fold up my paper and pour it right back into the little tube. And now, except for a few little smears, I have everything embossed. So I'm going to close this so my daughter doesn't spill it on me again. And I'm just going to heat up the embossing powder and get it all ready to start tearing. Now with the embossing powder, if you haven't used it before, it's going to turn really shiny because it turns to plastic when you're done heating it up, which is awesome. It stays for like ever. Try not to overheat because you will burn your paper or melt your pad. Like I melted my cutting pad the other day a little bit and that was not good. So I'm just going through, making sure that I heat all the parts, making sure they're all melty and shiny. This takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it. The bows you get are awesome. Especially if you're just bored, this also relaxes me a lot, so I like it. So I have to be kind of careful. I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of burnt it a little bit right there. So you definitely have to be careful. Keep your gun moving around, heating up all the stuff that needs to be heating up without burning it. Or yourself. Some embossing powders melt at different temperatures as well, and you have to hold some longer, and then some you can get a melt like pretty quickly. And one of the thicker embossing powders that I use, it takes a little bit of time to melt, so kind of just judging, making sure I'm looking, making sure I can see when it starts to melt and I'm not just like burning myself and everything around me. I don't know if you can see, like it turned from like non-glossy or matte to like this nice glossy plasticky looking stuff. Is really cool. Almost done. I'm just gonna take once over and make sure that I see glossy on everything. I missed a little spot here. And that's done. That's glossy. Oh, I missed a little spot here. So make sure you check everything because it'll just wipe off if you don't have it melted. Missed a little spot here. That's all done. Missed a little spot there. Missed a lot of little spots, so good thing I'm going over it. And almost. So hopefully that's all embossed. So we're done with the embossing part, the actual heating part. Oh, I think I missed another little spot. Didn't really heat. There we go. So now that we thoroughly looked over our piece, I'm going to actually rip my bow strips because I just think that it looks so much nicer. It can be not quite as easy as just cutting it, which would be just as easy to use my roller to cut it, but it just looks a lot nicer and more homemade, which is always a good thing for me. So I'm just going to take my long ruler and line it up and take off a big chunk of this paper. I'm just kind of going to have it as straight as possible. And so I just hold it down and rip it up. So that's what you get. So I'm going to take this and set it aside. Use that for later. And I have like a rough side and like a smooth side. The smooth side will just let the paper slide away. And with the embossing, the rough side really holds it down. And I'm actually going to use my my guide on my mat right here to measure my strips, and then I'm going to use this to hold, because I'm right-handed. So if I was left-handed, that would be fine to switch it around, so then you could tear with your left hand. You have more control. But I'm going to use this. I'm going to hold with this right on the line of 1 inch. To make my bow, I need 6 of these 1-inch strips. And I'm just going to gently tear, especially where it's embossed. You want to really gently tear. Make sure you get it all the way through the embossing. So, and if it's a little off,